No child chose that seat. In the corner of the west wall of the central courtyard, with no shade, no toys, and a cement surface stained with sunlight, it was so hot every afternoon that even adults didn't want to stand there for long. But that day, Jasmine Crockett was at the center for charity work, and as she was leaving, she suddenly saw a little black girl sitting there, motionless, hands on her knees, back against the wall, as if accustomed to no one caring about her. Her entourage continued walking, but she stopped. Not out of duty, not because of her schedule, only because of that gaze, a gaze that didn't fall on anyone, only directed towards the always closed iron gate. Crockett approached, sitting down beside her. "Child, why are you sitting here looking out at the gate all the time?" The little girl turned. Her eyes were slow, not avoiding, not pleading. "I'm waiting for my mother Gloria to come pick me up." And that's where everything began. That afternoon after the inspection, Crockett returned to the community office without greeting anyone. She opened her computer, sat in front of the screen, and typed the name Imani Walker into the internal profile search bar. No clear results. But when she changed from the child's name to the mother's name, Gloria Walker appeared in the list of cases where children were temporarily separated from their guardians. She dragged the cursor to the expanded profile section. The more she read, the colder she felt. Mother, 36 years old, 3 jobs without contracts, temporarily living in an unregistered boarding house. Daughter, 9 years old, no defiant behavior. Note, little communication, difficulty bonding. A report clearly stated, the mother has not met the standard for stable care. Communication lacks direction, shows signs of prolonged fatigue. Income section, no documentation. Additional note, frequently absent from residence at night, reported by Mrs. Margaret. Crockett stopped at that line. Frequently absent at night. Wasn't that because she had to work 3, 4 jobs a day to earn enough? Income to prove her worth, she thought. No one asked. Absent because of what? No one recorded. Night shift starts at 6 p.m., ends when it's light. No one noticed that this woman worked harder than any mother separated from her child, just because she didn't have enough documentation. No one asked the child how much she missed her mother. She was only 9 years old. How could she live without her mother's hand? Only Crockett saw the longing and the waiting hope in Imani's eyes. Did those who claim to advocate for children's rights truly care about what a child truly needed? And that woman who reported them surely never thought about those questions either. Imani and Gloria lived in a cheap boarding house, next to the house of a widow, with a difficult expression, scrutinizing eyes, and a slow gait. She was probably around 60 years old. Her name was Margaret. Every day she paid attention to where Gloria went, what she did, the daily routine of her and her daughter, especially despising them due to racial prejudice, and most of all, because Gloria had one more child than her. The discrimination, combined with her long-standing loneliness and shame, gradually grew into a destructive plot, and she filed a report against Gloria and her daughter. Returning. Crockett pressed the Save Profile button, then closed the computer. But she didn't leave the office. She turned her chair around, picked up her phone, and called the welfare center. "Please let me speak to little Imani Walker. She is currently in skills class. I don't want to interrupt, but I need to know, has her mother visited her?" The person on the phone was silent for a moment. "Mrs. Gloria Walker has requested visiting appointments 3 times, but they have all been postponed due to incomplete work verification documents. The most recent was last week." Crockett exhaled, softly but long. "Has the child had any strange reactions or behaviors?" "Well, not much. She's quite well behaved, but she often plays alone. Every afternoon she goes to the courtyard, sits in the same spot, looking towards the gate." "I understand. Thank you." She hung up, her hands still on the table. The profile didn't mention that, not a word. Not a single note mentioned that gaze. The way a child sat looking at the gate, not because she missed her mother, but because she believed her mother would come, and her mother would definitely come. That evening, Crockett called her personal assistant to the office. "I want to know, if a mother doesn't have a rental contract, doesn't have a payslip, Is there any way for her to have legal visitation rights with her child? She needs to verify stable income or have a temporary legal sponsorship application. So if I act as a sponsor and give her a temporary contract at my office, would that be sufficient? The assistant hesitated. It might be questioned, but in principle, it's not against the law. Crockett nodded, said nothing more. Crockett's attention to a small story was indeed a bit unusual. Compared to her busy schedule, why did she have such deep concern for that little girl? Was it simply because she felt pity for her situation, or was there another reason? Let me unveil it with you. 4 in the morning, Gloria changed her shoes in the basement restroom of a downtown office building. The old, worn-soled shoes were replaced with another pair that was older, but cleaner, enough not to dirty the spotless white floor tiles in the lobby. On her wrist was the mark of the elastic band that had tied her apron. On her shoulder was the sweat stain from the previous shift, not yet dry. She was the first person in the lobby, wiped the glass, sprayed the mirrors, scrubbed the edge of the rug with a small brush. No one said good morning. No one asked her name. The only person who had ever said more than one sentence to her was Martin Ellis, the third-floor technical manager who had never looked her directly in the eye. When Gloria raised her hand to ask for income verification during an internal meeting, Martin looked at her, then turned away. You understand, full-time employees get verification. As for part-time, we need to consider work attitude. You keep trying. Don't worry, I will propose it. I'm just an employee too. I can't go against the procedure. Against the procedure, Gloria nodded, asked nothing more. Because she knew, in their eyes, a woman of color without a contract, without a pay slip, had no right to demand any benefits, someone too easy to replace. This job was what she needed, not them. Between two shifts, less than 30 minutes, she used 10 minutes to walk, 5 minutes to change clothes, 5 minutes to lean against the door and breathe, as if it was the most luxurious thing in the day. Small Italian restaurant, busy but low wages, no time clock. When the owner needed her, she had work. When not, she had no name on any papers. A colleague, a middle-aged white man, joked loudly in the kitchen. You girls working here must get tax breaks, huh? Paid in cash, no need to declare. The whole kitchen laughed, but no one looked at Gloria, as if she wasn't present enough to be insulted. She didn't reply, just quietly picked up the food tray and left. The last shift of the day, caring for an 82-year-old white elderly woman living alone. The lightest job, but also where she felt she existed the most. The elderly woman didn't remember her name, but remembered how she talked about her daughter. Every evening, Gloria cleaned, cooked, helped the elderly woman bathe, and waited until she fell asleep. At the end of the shift, she received money via transfer from the tenant, and that was the only peaceful part of a day full of invisible scratches. That evening, back in her rented room, Gloria took off her shoes, neatly arranged them in front of the door as a habit she had taught her child. The small room, the pale yellow light, the slow-turning fan, the tin roof echoing the wind as clearly as footsteps running on the ceiling. She took out an old photo from her bag, with a broken edge but pressed in a clean plastic bag. A small girl with fluffy curly hair, eyes as bright as morning sun, a red mouth smiling brightly. She looked for a long time, feeling as if all the burdens of life vanished for a moment. She attached it to the wooden wall with 2 thin pieces of tape, right above where she placed her pillow every night, as if she felt that the little girl was always right beside her, giving her strength to continue tomorrow. My dearest Imani, Mommy will come pick you up. Definitely. Wait for me, my love, she thought to herself. That was the only thing she held on to. Only the promise to her child. Mommy isn't going anywhere. Then one day Crockett came to a boarding house for the elderly without a prior appointment. An old friend of hers who wanted an elderly woman named Ruth had just suffered a mild stroke with no relatives by her side, so Crockett stopped by to check on the situation. Elderly Ruth lay on the armchair, eyes half closed, while the woman carefully folding the wet towel was a middle-aged woman of color with neatly tied hair, rough hands, and focused eyes. Crockett sat down next to old Mrs. Ruth, said a few words, then turned to the woman. Are you her nurse? The other person shook her head gently. Not exactly. I'm just a hourly caregiver. No certification, but she's forgetful, so they let me stay overnight. Crockett nodded, about to stand up. But just then, Mrs. Ruth moved abruptly, knocking over the cup of water on the table. Water splashed out, a little hitting Crockett's hand. "Oh, I'm sorry, let me get you a towel," the woman said quickly. Before Crockett could react, she had brought a clean, dry towel and gently wiped the water stain on Crockett's hand, as if wiping her own daughter's. The movement was quick, careful, neither too much nor too little. "Thank you," Crockett smiled. "I'm Jasmine." The other person looked up. Her gaze paused slightly, but she wasn't flustered. She nodded slightly. "I know, I've seen you on television. My name is Gloria. Gloria Walker." That moment wasn't long, but in Crockett's eyes something had just shifted. Not because of the name, but because of the way the woman wiped the water stain as if holding something fragile and important. She looked into Gloria's eyes, a surprising familiarity. Those eyes, exactly like the eyes of the little girl who was longing for her mother every day. Bright, sad, and deep. Crockett asked her a question. "Little Imani is still very healthy. Don't give up." Gloria started, quickly glancing at Crockett, tears streaming out, welling up as if they had been suppressed for too long. The two talked for a while. She didn't know what they talked about, but Gloria's almost lifeless face suddenly lit up, much rosier. Perhaps Crockett had told her something. Part 6. An Unsigned Path. The next morning, Crockett arrived at the office earlier than usual. The coffee was still cold, but she had already opened 3 folders. No need to think further. Just rearrange what she already knew, in an order that others could no longer ignore. On the table were 3 charts: Gloria Walker's name, places of work, hours, and rejected confirmation requests. Each line was marked in red. No contract, income not up to standard. She tapped her hand on the table, then dialed Amira, the head of HR at the District 6 community office. "I need a temporary position. Cleaning hallways, no complex background required, no night shifts. Salary according to the framework." "We have a spot. Why?" "I have someone who needs to work, and needs to be recognized for the work she's doing." "Who is it?" "A woman 36 years old in good health with legal residency papers. Her name is Gloria Walker." The other end was silent for a few seconds. "We can arrange a 3-month probationary contract for her. I'll send the documents internally." Crockett nodded. No more needed. She knew. To save someone from the system is not to change the law, but to place a door right where that person is being forced to turn their back. That afternoon, Gloria received a call from an unknown number. A woman's voice, soft and polite. "Hello, Gloria. I'm calling from the District 6 community office. We have a temporary cleaning position and a 3-month contract. Someone has recommended you for this position. Are you interested?" She held the phone, standing still. Her hand gripped the canvas bag strap tightly, her thumb trembling slightly. After a few seconds, she replied, "I'm interested, very interested." After hanging up, Gloria sat down on the edge of the bed. For the first time in months, she didn't think about what to wash next, where to go after this hour, or being asked for more papers. She just thought, maybe this time, she could walk through the gate of that child protection center once and not have to come back. After getting the job, she quickly submitted the documents to CPS. Gloria was ready for the first review. The file was neatly clipped in a hardcover: employment confirmation, temporary residency permit, expense statement, all folded by her until the edges of the paper were worn. She arrived at the CPS center on time, sitting on a faded blue plastic chair in the hallway outside the meeting room, in the only clean shirt she had saved for the occasion. Sweat soaked through the fabric on her back, but she didn't dare move to wipe it. Her hands clasped together, her thumbs restlessly picking at each other, Gloria picked up and put down her file every 5 minutes. A great anxiety was clearly visible in her every gesture and expression. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, the receptionist came out, her face tense as if she were just delivering a decision no one wanted to state directly. "Ms. Gloria, there was a slight issue with today's meeting, so it needs to be postponed. There's an internal matter that needs to be handled. We'll schedule you to come back in 1 week." There was no apology. They just casually shattered her hope like that. A week later, she received a new call. The voice of the person in charge announced coldly, "The review schedule has been moved to next week. Please continue to stay in touch." Another week passed and Gloria came again, sat and waited again, and this time, no one came out to meet her. The receptionist simply placed a pre-printed notice on the table. Session postponed due to incomplete file review. No one signed it. No one left a contact number. This time, Gloria had reached her limit. She intended to say something, but she was afraid. The image of little Imani in her loneliness in a strange place made her feel pity. She turned away, but when she reached the stairs on the first floor, her hands suddenly gripped the strap of her bag so tightly her knuckles turned white. She plopped down on the step, her left hand punching her chest 3, 4 times repeatedly. She cried. She felt more humiliated than ever. Why did she have to endure such undeserved things? She had tried harder than anyone, just to be able to hold her child's hand to school every morning. Was that too difficult? They didn't refuse me. They just didn't want to say yes, and waited until I gave up on my own, she said bitterly. That weekend, Gloria was informed of the first official visit with her daughter, after nearly 4 months. She was happier than ever. If she couldn't take her child out of that cold place yet, then heaven had also heard her nightly prayers. At least she had a chance to see her child. Just a very short sentence from the center. You can see your child for 30 minutes. In the activity room on the second floor, a supervisor will be present. Gloria arrived half an hour early, holding a small cloth bundle in her handbag. Inside were a few bear-shaped cookies her daughter liked to eat and an old wool scarf. Imani used to wear the scarf to kindergarten. It was frayed at one corner, but she still kept it. The activity room on the second floor was empty. A plastic table, 2 chairs facing each other. The walls were painted beige. The curtains were faded. On the table was a desk clock with a very slow-moving hand, as if intentionally. Gloria sat there, her hands on her knees, not shaking, not closing her eyes. She looked towards the door with an endless longing. She waited. Imani walked in. It was the first time she had seen the little girl smile so brightly. All this time, Gloria had held on to hope just by that smile in a photo hanging above the cabinet. But today, she got to witness it in a real way. Imani ran and threw herself into her mother's arms. Gloria hugged her child very tightly for a long time. Every warmth seemed to penetrate deep into her heart. She wanted this happiness to last forever. Her voice trembling, she said, "Mommy's here, my little Imani." Imani said contentedly, "I always wait for you every day. I always believed you would come, and you're here." The answer was like a small thread, tying up the place where her heart had been torn. No need to say more. No need to explain why. But 30 minutes was too short for such a precious reunion. Imani was carefully instructed by her mother and promised that she would come to pick her up soon. Little Imani obeyed. Indeed, she was a very understanding and obedient child. But that was a sad thing, because such children usually only exist in such difficult circumstances. Gloria returned. On the way, she only remembered her child's smile, and a series of questions how to do it kept swirling in her mind. Could it be that life has destined us, mother and child, to be separated like this? She continued to work diligently, and every day she emailed CPS to ask about the progress of the review session, but there was no response. One Monday afternoon while cleaning, there was no warning, just a sudden call from the secretary of the CPS Center Director. "We want to finalize your case, Gloria Walker. The session will take place within the next 48 hours. I will send you the time. Please be on time." Gloria didn't even have time to wonder. Finalize? Did it mean good or bad? She quickly finished her work, reprinted her documents, washed her shirt, and prepared for that day. The final review session took place on a Wednesday morning. The review session was stranger than usual because suddenly a member of Congress, Jasmine Crockett, was present 10 minutes before the meeting. She did not announce it. She also did not sit in the community observer seat as usual. Instead, she placed a document on the council table, signed and sealed from the congressional office. "Request to convene a full review council. Otherwise, I will request an internal investigation into the fairness and transparency of this process." The room was silent for a second longer than usual. The CPS representative, Lydia Brandt, sighed softly. All right, Ms. Crockett. If you want to speed things up, we are ready. The meeting began. The file was read. The history of application, postponed, reviewed, silenced, was listed item by item. When it came to the assessment unclear level of attachment between mother and child, Crockett stood up, without waiting to be called. I am not here to represent Gloria. I am here to make this clear. If I had not accidentally known about this case, how many more situations would be made difficult? How many more families would be separated by the very name that claims to protect? And how many consequences will the arbitrary way of working of the people here cause? I have seen Gloria here work 3 jobs in one day. No one greeted her. No one asked her name. No one acknowledged her. She was even looked down upon for her labor, with all the hope of bringing her child back. And I have seen her daughter, every day, just sit outside in the yard, looking towards the gate, waiting for her mother as if it were an instinctive language. Are those the signs that prove unclear level of attachment between mother and child? Ladies and gentlemen, this world is used to making people like Gloria prove they haven't given up, and then telling them they are not qualified enough. But justice is for everyone, regardless of their skin color or wealth. If they all yearn for and pursue happiness, then justice is always needed. She paused for a beat, then said clearly, if a mother having to apply 4 times, being postponed twice without reason, having her employment checked in 3 places, and her child still waiting every afternoon for 4 months is still not enough to convince you, then perhaps the problem is not with the paperwork, but with the eyes of the people reading them. Silence. No one spoke up to object. The review was successful. It turned out that Jasmine had always been quietly watching Gloria in some way. If it weren't for her, perhaps things would not have had such a good start. The center's iron gate opened at 4:07 p.m., 7 minutes later than expected. Gloria stood outside. Faded shirt, neatly tied hair, empty hands. For the first time in months, she didn't need to show a form, didn't need to wait for the conditions board. She just stood, straight back, waiting. Amani walked out, her old backpack on her back. No one told her to bow. No supervisor followed. Only 2 people looked at each other and knew that what they had just regained was not custody, but a bond that no one could cut anymore. Imani stopped in front of her mother, didn't speak immediately. Gloria knelt down, not because her child was small, but because there are things that can only be said when eyes are level. Are you angry with me? She asked. Number. But I was afraid you wouldn't make it in time. Gloria pursed her lips. She nodded slightly. My love, I will always be with you and protect you until I can no longer do so. Then they both stood up and stepped out of the gate together. No one looked. No one recorded. There was only the sound of sandals touching the ground, steady and soft, and a short path, but longer than any journey she had ever taken, because this time she was not walking alone. A week later, at Jasmine Crockett's office, on her desk was a letter already open. Regular printing paper, handwritten in black ink, slanting to the left, firm and simple. The letter was sent from a new address in the resettlement area in the southeast of the city, with 2 names in the lower corner, Gloria and Imani Walker. In the letter, they didn't say much, just a few lines. We still wake up early, still eat porridge in the morning, still go to work, go to school, but now the porridge is cooked on our own stove. We don't have to ask for clothes anymore. Imani has become much stronger recently, and sometimes she mentions you, saying you are the angel God gave the 2 of us. Thank you for always protecting us, and I hope you will always be as kind and compassionate as you are. Crockett folded the letter, placed it in the left drawer. Then she stood up and opened a small locked drawer under the desk, one that no one in the office ever asked about. Inside was an old envelope, yellowed with time. She took it out and carefully opened it. The photo inside was a blurry shot, the edges of the paper scratched. In the photo were 2 children about 5 or 6 years old. One of them, light-skinned, neatly braided hair, dimples, was herself as a child. The other girl, brown-skinned, curly hair tied high, eyes like sunlight just peeking through, was holding her arm, smiling with her whole body tilted. On the back of the photo was childish handwriting. slightly slanted. Love, Gloria. Crockett smiled very softly, not surprised, nor regretful. Just a smile as if nodding to a memory. Some bonds in life are not broken because people forget, but because they never think they are important enough to be named. Yet they remain there, in lightly locked drawers, in chapters of life everyone thought had passed. Jasmine Crockett is the embodiment of an unyielding flame in an era when justice is still an incomplete aspiration for many Black people. From her early days as a lawyer defending those no one wanted to hear, to stepping into Congress with eyes not only on power, but deeply focused on the community's pain, Jasmine has proven that change does not only come from loud declarations, but also from tireless perseverance in small but meaningful actions. She does not only represent the presence of Black people in spaces of power, she is proof that Black people can create power and reshape a system that for so long did not belong to them. And through all she does, Jasmine has been, is, and will continue to inspire the next generation, to let them know that no one can take away their dignity just because of their skin color, and that standing up for truth has never been meaningless.